Find a comfortable place, take some deep breaths, and begin to relax. You are experiencing It's Been a While podcast.
It's been a while. Hey, this is the absolute longest it's been between us posting ever. And we have a new logo, or I guess I have a new logo. I have a new intro. I hope you enjoyed that. I've been trying to get this going for a minute here. I guess like over a year or so. And a lot has changed in everybody involved with this show's life. Probably, well, I guess no. Everybody's life's changed a lot. I was gonna say mine particularly more, but no, everybody's changed a lot, and I didn't know how to come back to the show, and maybe this is it. Maybe it's happening now. Finally, we'll see. This is a solo episode, as you can see. I've only had a couple other solo episodes. One of them was the New Neighbors episode, which that one's fun. You can check that out. And Mikey Miles, which is a trip. But I don't know. I might have had more. Doesn't matter. I'm going to try to not be super funny, even though I'm usually not as funny on the podcast as I am in real life, believe it or not. That's not a cop-out. There's definitely just some certain level of anxiety to this, even though there's really not that many people watching. For some reason, when the camera starts rolling, everything kind of changes to some degree for some reason. And there's definitely, the camera's looking good. I'm liking how it looks. I did have a technical difficulty earlier already where it got too hot and shut off. So we'll see what happens. I'll just deal with that if it does. But I guess I'll just first give a quick update on kind of where we've been. Obviously, Ian left the show a long time ago when he moved. He's moved back. He's been on the show a little bit. And Dave moved out about a year ago or so. And we're still in the house. We're still in the big house. We got a couple people still living here. Jake, Caleb, Bryston. You know them from other episodes. And we're here for an 8th year. We just re-signed the lease. That's big. Very excited. I don't have to deal with the stress of moving all of the shit out of this gigantic house. But yeah, Dave's got. I won't air their lives too much because I didn't even ask them. They don't know I'm even doing this solo episode yet. But Dave's got a job. I think he likes it. I think he's making pretty decent money. He's got a couple cats. Snickle Fritz has a couple buddies now. He's got a new girlfriend. They're great together. They live together. He lives kind of far away now. Ian's got wife, 2 beautiful kids. He's working. He's making money. Both of them seem pretty stoked, pretty happy, and I'm very happy for them. I love those guys. I love those motherfuckers a lot, and I definitely will try to get them on here going forward. I am, going to be the only consistent aspect of this show, and hence the new logo, everything. Always got to do a big redux whenever somebody bows out, and the first logo was the 3 of us on the couch. I was wearing this shirt, actually. Decided to wear it for this. It just felt fitting. And second logo was me and Dave as the comedy tragedy masks. I didn't want the new logo to be just my face. It just felt weird. It just felt better when it was multiple people. Less vain, I guess. I just didn't want it to be, so I drew up it took me a long time, but I drew up that new logo and made the new intro. Been thinking about what it should be for a while. It's been a while. Feels like time. Makes sense. Did a cool, creepy clock. And I'm stoked on it. I like it. And I'm very excited to start implementing this show back into my life. it is probably going to be a bit different. Not that I never want to cover internet weirdo again, I guess, but you know, I would sit there and obsess over just finding these details and like not doxing these people, but like I would really try to, you know, Nardwar it and figure out everything I could about these fuckers. And are we 5 minutes in? This can get me in trouble. I've been swearing already. So the you know, and I'm never gonna not watch. It's not like I don't want to watch a fight video on here or there. You know, I love a good fight video. Wish people weren't fighting that much, but if they're gonna fight, I'm gonna watch. And it's just, I want it to be less internet focused, I guess. Like I said, a lot has changed. I don't want to sit on the internet doing what I was doing in the past. I have so many videos that we never got to. Just, dude, like I have a 5 terabyte hard drive that's just the podcast, and there's like 100 gigs free. And a lot of that is just archive videos that we never got to of like other episodes and stuff. So I got plenty of content to work with for stuff like that. And I guess I just want to have more real conversations with people. I want to be funny. We're going to make it funny. But I just have gotten into a rabbit hole for multiple reasons that I will get into here pretty soon, of thinking about things differently and thinking about life kind of differently, having different conversations than I was ever able to or wanted to in the past. And I think it is important to do so. So that's what I'm going to do. So, you know, to the 4 people who watch this, you know, this show never quite got to where we ever wanted it to. And it's not like we wanted to become millionaires off it or like give Joe Rogan a run for his money, but it just never quite caught the traction we thought it would for the amount of work and time and money that we put into it, which is fine. You can't control how things go. There is a certain level of preparedness that it takes. There is a certain level of relatability that the show hosts need to have, and then there's 100% a certain degree of luck and algorithm that goes into it. Probably a blend of all 3 that kept us from getting quite to where we thought it was going to get to. I really thought talking to some of those internet people would skyrocket it to a point where a ton of people cared, and there are people that care. If you are watching this, I know that you do care, and I know that there are a couple fans that have been there throughout kind of the whole thing and loved every moment of it, give or take, except when Bryson was going apeshit sometimes. But, you know, there's it just never quite hit that point, I guess. And things just kind of stopped because we were at different points in our life than we were when we first started this. I mean, we started this like August 2019 just because there was a bunch of funny shit I wanted to talk about. Chuck E. Cheese fights, first episode, and they, you know, and then COVID hit, and we were doing like 3-4 episodes a week because we all lived in this house and were getting unemployment, living very, very nice compared to how some people had to deal with those years. So it's just, you know, we hit a different point in our lives. We started growing up or not growing up or moving around and moving on and doing other shit. And a podcast that's not making any money just sometimes doesn't fall into place where it needs to fall into place. But, you know, I don't like want it to end completely. I think it's okay to take breaks and come back to things. You know, when you hit a point where you're ready to handle stuff differently, and I'm ready to do so, hopefully, and start putting this kind of back into my week to week and put it back in my mind and really start thinking about it again and thinking about it differently and thinking about it in a way that is going to be fun again. I mean, it's not that it stopped being fun, but I guess just something happened where it just wasn't my main concern anymore. And I guess I kind of know why. And we'll get into that here in a second as well. But, you know, I had issues with it, I guess, to a certain degree. I wasn't able to kind of take we didn't get a lot of hate, but every once in a while we'd have someone say something shitty, and I would just delete it, which is, you know, I don't want to say like pussy shit, but it's just kind of like I couldn't handle it. I own a business outside of this, and if I get a bad review there, it fucks up my whole week. Like, it really does. And we don't get that many. We're pretty good. But it fucks up my whole week for sure. So it was just easier for me to not even respond and just delete it and act like nothing happened. But going forward, I am doing things kind of differently in my brain, where I'm taking compliments more to heart and just hoping that people that do say shit like that, figure out whatever's making them say shit like that, because I'm not innocent to that. I mean, if anything, it was karma for the ways I've acted on the internet before. I don't do that anymore. It doesn't feel right. It didn't ever feel right, I guess, in the moment either. But yeah, and that's not why it didn't make me stop, I guess. I just wanted to talk about that to some extent. And if someone comments some shit on here, mean shit, I'm just going to send back a heart emoji. So I'm not going to delete it. Boost the algorithm. Any comment's a good comment. So, people do say stuff behind a screen kind of that they wouldn't say in real life, but I have noticed that has slowly kind of seeped into our real lives, and being able to kind of shit talk on the internet has over time made people more confident just randomly shit talking in real life and kind of being more insane. I live near a store that we go to all the time, and every 3 times there's something going down, some conflict, and wasn't in the past, and people are angry for whatever reason. And I do think just the internet has made it to where we can be more angry for some reason at each other, and it kind of sucks. And the goal of this podcast initially was that I had a bunch of funny stuff that I wanted to talk about with my friends. But ultimately, what it really came down to was that I wanted to have time capsule conversations with the people that I love, with my friends that I love, with interesting people that I could start to watch, or we could start to watch, my friends could start to watch when we start to die. Or just when, you haven't seen that person in a while. Every once in a while, if I miss somebody, I've turned on an episode with them in it and watched it, because it feels like I'm having a conversation with them. And that is kind of what a podcast is, to learn. But I think ultimately it's to have this weird, what's the word? There's a term for having that friendship with someone that doesn't exist. And I do think that part of it, is that where I can go back and listen to these things and laugh and be like, what? I don't even remember saying this shit at this point. But that was the goal, was to have these time capsule conversations with my friends that, I have all the files of them. If for some reason YouTube were to go down, and when these people start to die, when Caleb dies in a motorcycle accident because he bought a motorcycle, he's been popping fucking wheelies and going up and down the road like a madman. No, I'm just kidding. But when somebody dies, we'll have that, and I'll pull up a highlight reel of them on the podcast at their funeral afterwards. Maybe, I don't know if the family would want to see us talking about some of the stuff we've talked about, but for the select few that are okay with that, that's what the goal was, I guess. And I've stated that before, but I've kind of forgotten that over time, that's why I was doing this. And it's obviously great to have conversations with these people outside of a recorded anxious setting. But if you can get a couple conversations in with these people before they die, when you have the time to do so, I think there's a lot of merit in that, and a lot of sentimental value in it for sure. And I've realized that I stopped doing it. I stopped having these conversations with people, recorded and not recorded. And we're all gonna still die. And we're all closer to it now than August 2019 when I started this. So I want to have people on more, and I want to talk about things that matter more Again, I'd still like to be cracking some dick jokes here and there. I'd like to cover an internet weirdo here and there. But, like, I want to talk about shit that I just want to talk about now because the lot's changed. And I want to be more kind to these people. And, you know, I don't think we were ever that mean to some of the internet people. Maybe Dave got a little moody here and there. But, like, you know, we were playing bits. We were playing characters. I don't think we actually, like, upset anyone. I hope we didn't. That wasn't the goal. The goal was to fuck around. We've never found out if we were being too bad. And, you know, everybody does stupid shit. Everybody is cringe and embarrassing in their own cringe and embarrassing way. And it's human. But everyone also does cool shit and nice shit. And like I said, like, I'll still cover those people here and there if I really find somebody and I have the time to do so. But I guess I do kind of, I didn't have this in my notes here, but, like, I do want to apologize if I have ever, like, upset anyone, because that was not my intention, you know. It was my character, our bit's intention maybe, but I didn't want to actually, like, ruin somebody's day or week. Like, my shit would get ruined if I got a bad review, so it makes sense if we did. You know, at this point, I don't even remember that much of, you know, the exactness of what we said in the episodes, but I guess I just hope we didn't. So we could all be kinder is, I guess, a good way to sum all of that up, and I'm sorry if I wasn't in the past. But I want to switch to me a little bit here, because I'm assuming those other two are doing good. They seem like it. If not, hit me up, boys. But I am not doing as good, I guess. I'm in a weird spot. A lot of good stuff is happening because I'm making it happen. A lot of sad stuff has happened to me or is happening. And the main goal of this episode is to catch you up, like I did, is a small aspect of it. Kind of more so, though, to explain what's happened to me and give any sort of advice that I can on what has helped me. Because I didn't get the help that has been helping me by myself. It was through resources on the internet, through friends and family, through deep thinking about my situation, which I guess was myself, but everything I've could utilize is stuff that I've probably experienced to some degree outside of myself. So I guess I just want to see if I could help someone with this, and if not, then this is an awesome time capsule for me to look back on if 4 people view this and all of them are living their best lives. This is a good time capsule for me to check back in on, and when I am doing much better, which I am doing better every day, I will be able to be like, damn, look how far you've come, bro. So I'll get into what's been going on with me. I am 30 years old. I have been doing drugs since I was 13. I first started doing drugs when me and Bryston, as little fuckers, walked around and looked for cigarette butts on the ground and picked them up and smoked them. Which is, it's very lucky we don't have some sort of horrible herpes because of it. It's very lucky that nothing worse happened to us than it did. But very shortly after, you know, we switched into other stuff, and I took it the most far probably out of most of the people around us. And people, we were all doing bad stuff, but I definitely hit a point where I was desperate in order to get high in any way whatsoever. From freshman year of high school until junior year when I got put on probation, I did more drugs than most people like the average person probably ever do, ever. Any pill, including stealing Xanax from my grandma who was dying in the hospital and ODing on them. And I was told I almost died, but I don't know. I was probably just very blacked out on Xanax, but maybe I almost died. I don't know, and I'll never know. Household stupid shit, trying to eat a bunch of fucking nutmeg and smoke catnip, which didn't really get me high, but just shows the insanity of, like, if I read it on the internet, I would try to do it. There was one time where I read that if you eat like a pound of applesauce, it gets you high, and I told people about it, and they fucking made fun of me so fucking bad. I just remembered that. I completely pushed that out of my head. I huffed a lot of fucking paint. Gold paint specifically, because my dad had a bunch of it for some reason in the garage, and I went to a mental hospital because I got caught doing it, and I went to rehab for the Xanax, and I got put on probation because I was walking around with weed in a bowl, and the cops said I had way more than I did. And I mean, you know, buying pills off of people like that stole them out of their parents' medicine cabinet, you know, drinking Everclear straight out of the bottle behind a church. I mean, you name it, if I could get it, there was no doubt I wasn't going to do it. Chugging whole bottles of Robitussin, which is unfortunately so fucking fun. Taking whole bottles or boxes of Benadryl and Coracetin, cough and cold, and triple C's. You know, like straight deliriums that like 98% of people wouldn't consider fun, kind of including me. So much Pep Spice, K2, like an insane, like truly we were the guinea pigs for that shit, and it definitely altered all of our brain chemistry probably forever for the amount of that just like research chemical we were putting into our body. I'll stop going on and on about it. My point is it was a lot. And when I got put on probation, I had to be sober for about a year, but I still drink alcohol here and there, and sometimes I got away with it, and sometimes I got caught doing it. And I did mushrooms for the first time my senior year because that wasn't testable. So even during the time where I was legally, because I was in the mental hospital for like a week, I was in rehab for 58 days, I was on probation for a year exactly. So like even the time where I was the most legally watched and bound, excuse me, I still found a way to do it and sneak it and hide it. Partially peer pressure, I guess, partially wanting to have as much fun as the other people getting fucked up. But, you know, definitely a degree of just a high degree of just pure addiction, because that's who I am, and there's reasons for why I am that way. I'm still finding some of them out. It's definitely hereditary to a degree as well. But this is the longest I've been my definition of sober in 17 years. It has been 106 days, which is crazy, and I'll get into what most people would consider has made me not sober here in a bit. One of which, you know, the biggest thing I'm dealing with right now is this goddamn motherfucker. And, you know, I smoked cigarettes for a long time, and they nailed these little disposables. So I got a flavor that I don't like that much, and I wrote that. So every time I hit it, I have to see that. But 17 years, 106 days, longest period. And wow, when you go from being as high as I was for my entire adult life. I graduated high school in 2013. The day I graduated high school was the day I got off probation. I don't know why they lined it up like that. You know, I immediately started smoking weed. And I've done a lot of drugs in my adult life. I haven't huffed paint. I haven't taken whole bottles of Benadryl. I've drank whole bottles of cough syrup. I've taken a lot of Xanax. I've taken a lot of Adderall. When I got my wisdom teeth out and they gave me Vicodin, I blew through them motherfuckers. That lined up with Zelda Tears of the Kingdom coming out. That was not on purpose. But I blew through them bitches so fast that I was actually in real pain, and the edibles weren't doing it for me. So, you know, I will take anything to excess, and I will make it not a toy anymore. I will make it a way of life, truly. And when you've probably never seen me sober like this. I mean, you definitely haven't seen me this prolonged amount of sober, but like there probably wasn't a single podcast episode, I mean, maybe a couple if we recorded really early in the morning, where I didn't at least have one hit of weed. I mean, the longest that I probably had gone without smoking weed after and recording a podcast episode, fucking maybe 12 hours, like maybe. I mean, I would get home from work and it would be 3 waterfall bongs back to back. Because what else would I do? What am I going to not do that? And, you know, it's been mostly just weed recently. But it's not the drug that matters. It's the mindset when you have this, you know, I was going to call it a sickness, but I mean, it's a goddamn plague, baby, having this. So when you have this mind, you will make anything as full force bad as you can make it. And last year, I tried to get clean, and I never had it denounced in my head. It was always like, well, we'll smoke weed 6 times a year. You know, it'll be for special occasions. And deep down, I didn't want to stop. And I made it work, and I made excuses for it. And I was sober for, like, dude, not even 20 days. And then I immediately went to hiding it. And, I mean, there's people in my house that I was lying to about and acting sober, but I was doing so much laundry. I was emptying out that dehumidifier in the basement way more than normal because I had bowls in the basement and in the upstairs bathroom hidden, locked and loaded, ready to go. I was taking way more showers, and it let me get high and hide it. And I'm good at keeping my shit together. I've been in grocery stores on acid too many times. So I was able to hide it very well. And I talked to my business partner about this because he had no idea I was even doing drugs. And he was like, when I explained to him, like, the hiding the bowls and, you know, having the Febreze ready and going and doing all the extra chores and showers and stuff, he was like, it's like you had another job, dude. And I was like, you're right. I didn't think about it like that. I was picking up shifts on being a sneaky motherfucker, and I'm good at it. And I was able to just make it fucking work. And I never got full on caught until I admitted it earlier this year to people. Because you'll make it work, dude. If you're this good of an addict, or this bad of an addict, I guess, you'll figure out how to fucking do it. And it's scary, honestly. In retrospect, you know, in the moment, you're just like surviving. You're like, this is what I need to do to feel good. This is what I need to do to keep things going. This is what I need to do to cope and keep my coping mechanism safe. You'll do anything. So in the moment, it's just normal. It's a little stressful, but it's not it doesn't feel wrong. In hindsight, when you look back at it, you're like, holy fuck, was I jumping through hoops to do this? So it's been denounced. I'm never gonna smoke weed ever again. And even if I have cancer, even if I get some horrible sickness, illness, something that I have 3 weeks to live, if there's a meteor falling towards Earth, no, I'm not drinking alcohol ever again. Wasn't ever really a huge problem for me, but why even risk it? I don't want pills, no pills, including antidepressants or ADHD medicine. I'm going to figure it out on my own. And the more I read about them, the more I read the problems with them and how it's a gamble no matter what, and how sometimes and most of the time they don't actually fucking work. So I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to put myself in that situation. And what I'm about to say is going to sound quite contradicting to that, because the only thing I am going to do is psychedelics with intent. And there's a lot of books on this. There's a lot of research on this. MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, I think is what the acronym is. The Johns Hopkins Institute, a bunch of just psychonauts in general, have really figured out how to approach it clinically, how to approach it with a different take, because I've done acid and mushrooms and DMT. I've never done ayahuasca full on or mescaline cactus, but you know, every time I had done those things in the past, it was, how trippy can I get? How fucked up can I get? This is so much fun. I've never had like a bad trip. So it was like, this stuff is fucking fun, and I'm doing it to get high. And then I would smoke weed constantly throughout it. And I never tried to face anything within myself or my life on it. And I don't recommend it for most people. I've tripped probably 200 times on those drugs, on tryptamines. Some people shouldn't ever take them ever for a handful of reasons. Some people take it once, twice, 3 times, have a bad time on the third, and they're done. I get it. You shouldn't if it scares you. And what I'm saying is it's not that you should never take them for fun, but that's not what they're for. If anyone's hearing this that I haven't told about the psychedelics yet, I'm sorry. You're hearing it here. I probably shouldn't have lied or withheld it from you to begin with. But I've never taken them sad and sober before. With a goal, with an intent, with a purpose to face something within myself, to try to work on depression, addiction, etc. with them. And now I have. And it's different. And I feel like I've been disrespecting the drugs every time I took them ever before. And they are a drug by definition, but they get called plant medicine a lot. And that truly, at this point with how I've done them, feels like the correct term. I mean, I cried for 6-7 hours on that shit. I came out with a lesson that I don't know if I would have gotten elsewhere. I came out with my brain definitely wired up a little differently, and it kind of proved the neuroplasticity of things. I didn't realize they could do what they did. They made me more accepting of a lot of things within myself, my situation, and the future. and there's a lot of resources on them, and you should definitely check them out if this is something that you would be interested in. The deep work is what it gets referred to as a lot, and I've done the deep work now, and the biggest thing is I can't make a habit of it because it wasn't that much fun. I cried for 6-7 hours. You do feel fucking nuts on it still. The part of me that's bad tapped into that and was like, this feels pretty good, even though you're weeping hysterically. So I do know that I do have a problem. I do know that I have access to these things and that I need to be careful with them. I don't have an intent right now. There's not a reason for me to do it as soon after as I've done it before. So I'm not going to. And there needs to be months, if not an entire season of the year in between each time it happens, so that it's not too often. Which is about how often, maybe a little less, I would do it in the past few years. So why would I be trying to do it more? Probably to replace the other drugs that I'm not doing anymore. But I'm not going to do it that often, and I'm going to do it with a reason. Because, wow, it was fucking nuts how much it helped me do some of the things I'm going to list off here, which I should get into more because I'm not as far through this list of notes than I thought I was going to be at the time we're at here. And thank you if you are listening to this, because this isn't just for me. This is for you, and you should thank yourself, because I am going to be giving stuff that helped me that you should try if you're in even a remotely similar situation, or not just upset and complacent and bored, because we're not supposed to be comfortable for too long, because then bad stuff starts to happen. So, you know, I don't want to be a killjoy and tell people to not do drugs. If you can handle your drugs and you can actually sit there and address your life wholeheartedly and honestly, and think about whether you're doing them for the right reason, think about whether they're too much, think about whether you're spending too much money on them, think about whether you still have the proper connections with people in your life, think about if they are consuming your thoughts and they're all you can think about in the last few hours of your shift, or the entire shift is, I can't wait to get home and do blank. If you can wholeheartedly look at all of those things and say, I don't have a problem, then I believe you. But you should really make sure, because it's easier to learn from your own mistakes as they happen. It's a lot better to learn from my mistakes or a peer's mistakes, friends, families, any sort of, story that you can get that's going to help you learn, rather than having shit fall out around you, is better. And I know that a couple people so far, as I've told my story to, that had no idea that I was at the point I was at because I was so good at hiding it, have readdressed their own situation to make sure that they're not going down the same path that I have. And I am a little more of an extreme case. I'm not special, but there's definitely a certain degree that I was able to get away with it more than a lot of people do, and that I fucking love it way more than a lot of people do. But there's people that are way worse than me, and I feel deeply for them. And my story might not help them. Maybe it would. People have asked me if I want to get an NA coin, and I've referenced this a lot now. But the high score for not smoking weed, or the whole list of stuff I'm not doing, is going to be the day I die. So some people need that day-to-day win, and I get it. Some people need to fiddle with that coin. 30 days, 60 days, 1 year. I get it. at this point, I'm not thinking about, oh, don't smoke weed. You can't smoke weed. I have a bowl and the waterfall bong bowl are like framed up on my wall over here as like a reminder. Like, yeah, it's a little nostalgic, but you ruined a big chunk of your fucking life and wasted a lot of fucking time, and now you have to make up for all of that time. And it's not a day-to-day thing for me anymore in terms of, okay, just don't smoke weed for the next 24 hours. Don't smoke weed for the next 30 minutes and you'll be good, and then you deal with the next 30 minutes. It's not that for me, and I'm very lucky. I was a hard shell to crack. I had a thick fucking shell. I got some thick fucking other things on my body, but once the shell got broken, it all came out, and it was like, oh shit, you cannot do this. So from May 2009 until February 2025, which I stopped smoking weed in January of 2025, but even at the beginning of this year, dude, 6 times a year, special occasions. What am I gonna not smoke weed on 420 or the 4th of July? What am I gonna not be high at Halloween? A sober Christmas? I was still like making these justifications on my birthday. I was still figuring out how to make it to where I wasn't done forever. February rolled around and I learned more stuff, and I denounced it at that point. So the last time I smoked it was January, but I wrote February up there because that's when I cut its fucking head off with a knife. So it's just how to figure out how to get back what it took from me and what parts of my brain are emaciated from drinking bottles of cough syrup and then smoking weed for 17 years. It's hard for me to say it because it fills me with shame, and it makes me sad, and it makes me feel stupid. But when I smoked the amount of Pep Spice that I have, when I huffed the amount of paint that I have, I gave myself brain damage. For sure. My brain was still developing. I was like 15 with a fucking bag of gold paint in the garage. This is going to sound insane, but one time I heard a truck go by when I was on it, and the noise of the truck became like onomatopoeia, where I could like see the letters in my head, and then I opened my eyes and I saw them like visibly, and it was just like BRRRHHHAZZZ. I mean, however you would try to fucking spell out a big fucking stupid truck accelerating. And I saw them in real life, and I was like, that's a word. That's a new word. I gotta start getting this word around. That's what huffing paint is like. And if that wasn't just fucking cutting my brain up, I don't know what else would. I don't know what that feeling was if not that. My brain cells popping like little fucking popcorns. So I hope my ceiling isn't that much lower than it would have been. It's hard though. I wonder if I wouldn't be as creative as I am without doing them drugs. I wonder if they rewired me up in a less book smart, more fucking weird artsy way. I don't fucking know. Would I be collecting all this weird shit if I didn't fucking take a whole bottle of Benadryl and then sit in my closet as a teenager and sit by this little like iron stove that I was hallucinating with a weird little gnome guy that kept making mean faces at me all fucking night. But I was like, I'm so cold, I gotta be by this fucking little iron stove. And I sat with his ass, and he didn't say a fucking word to me. I didn't say a fucking word to him. And he just kept mean mugging me every once in a while, making sure I wasn't like fucking with the stove or anything. And I realized I never saw him put any like coal or wood in there. He had that thing going. But like, you know, did that inspire me in some fucked up way? Or would I be even cooler and more artsy if I didn't do that shit? Some shit you just never know, but it does fill me with just a weird amount of regret and shame when I think back on that. I'm like, maybe you wouldn't have as bad of ADHD. Maybe you wouldn't have been as bad of an addict. Maybe you would be technically smarter, better memory, you name it, whatever. Anything that's a good thing, you know. So I guess that was all just to say, at this point, I'm figuring out what it took for me. And think about how much easier it would be for me right now, or for you, if you didn't have to sit here and spend your time figuring out how you should be, how you could have been, what can you get back, why aren't you compassionate enough, why can't you hold a conversation properly without dominating it, why can't you remember important things about people or events, why can't you not have so much shame? Wouldn't it be so much easier to not do that? And I know a lot of people watching this probably aren't huffing paint. There's probably not that many people huffing paint in general anymore. That's kind of a 90s to mid 2000s 2010 type drug, I feel like. But not that there's not worse stuff now, technically, and presented in a way that's not as scary as fucking huffing paint. But you should address things, is all I mean by all of this, because you could be wrong about how bad it is. I was very wrong about how bad I had let things become. So, again, I don't want to be a killjoy. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I don't want to sound like a narc, because I'm not. Just look at your life. Look at the drugs you're doing. And even if you're not doing drugs, look at your fucking life. Are you too complacent? Are you too comfortable? When's the last time you really had a fun adventure? When's the last time you really bonded with someone over some bullshit? Or some good shit? You know, doing this has brought me closer to my friends and family in a wild way that I never would have expected. And that's important. So just regardless of whether you're doing drugs, regardless of whether you think you have a problem or not, take a step back, because it's easier to hear it right here than it is to have what happened to me happen to you. So I'll try not to stay on this too long, but there was a catalyst that made me stop doing the drugs and start kind of radically addressing everything in my life. Grab a hit first. I have been in a relationship for a long time. Part of what made me start to stop doing drugs last year was the fear of losing it. What made me stop this time was an even more imminent fear of losing it. Now, at least for right now, I've lost it. Part of me doesn't like saying that it could be reconciled, because it could, but part of me knows that every time I do that, it wires my brain back up to be full of hope. And I need to not do that as much as it hurts, because it'll just be a pleasant surprise if it does get figured out one day. But it'll hurt more if it doesn't. And I've been holding on to too much hope for it. But what I've realized is how big of a wake-up call it was to stop doing these drugs, because although she never asked me to stop outright, I've pinpointed it to where that was most of the problems with the whole thing. And I won't get that much into the nitty-gritty of it because she likes to be private about things, and I don't want to air it out there like that. But I was able to pinpoint that every way that I was letting her down and not being enough was because of the mindset I had as a drug addict and the delusion I made in my head in that addiction. And if I was willing to throw away what I consider the best thing to ever happen to me so far, and maybe ever, then what else wouldn't I throw away? And again, she never outright said, stop smoking weed, Xavier. But I knew that that was my problem. And I truly think that my mom could have begged me to stop, or I almost died from it. And that wouldn't have made me readdress the things like I did here. And I'm very thankful for her for that reason, even if we're not together right now. And the shame that you feel when you realize that you had it in you all along to do those things, if you weren't high, if you weren't making these justifications for your being high, is hard, because you just can realize how capable you actually are and how capable I was. And it makes hindsight a bitch. It makes it to where you're actually feeling this degree of emotion that I've never felt in my entire adult life, more than half of my entire fucking life. And I didn't know a heart could hurt this bad. I didn't know you could be this sad. I've had people in my family die, and I didn't feel this sad, which is shitty to admit, but it's true. So it took truly a catastrophe that I caused to realize that I wasn't living correctly. And I did a lot of things right because I am a cool, good, funny, caring motherfucker. But I was never my true, uninhibited self throughout the entire process. And I will get off of it as soon as possible here. But you can't appreciate what you have when you're in that state. And I'm gonna hold how she pushed me and made me feel until the day that I die, with or without her. I just hope it's with her. But no matter what happens, I am now showing up. I am now becoming enough. And I am being the person that I need to be for myself and whoever is in my life. Because I truly never was. I don't know what it's like to be an adult at all, because I've not been an adult at all. I huffed pain at 14. I've smoked weed almost every day since then. Something stopped me in my tracks back then. And when you think back about all of this stuff, and you think about all of this shame and regret you have, not even just for ruining my relationship, but for hurting other people in my life, hurting myself, making myself not as smart or capable as I could be because of all the drugs that I did. Not even the drugs in the moment where it's like, okay, I'll stop smoking weed and things will get better. Man, I really thought I would become sober and it would all go back to normal. It's insane how much work I've done and still need to do to get to a point where it's gonna feel okay. And not even with the split, I'm talking in general, because drugs really can change you depending on how you use them. And over time, I've realized that, well, not over time, I mean, over the past not even 4 fucking months, I realized that over the time of doing the drugs, now that I am able to see it all much more clearly in a new light, that I kind of hate myself. And that's a hard thing to deal with. And that gives you more shame. And I hate myself because of how much shame I have. And then I have more shame and regret for hating myself because that doesn't feel right. And that's a wicked cycle, baby. Now, just realizing that this is the case has been very beneficial to addressing the self-loathing. I didn't realize it while I was high that whole time. How could I, when I'm being numbed and being fed artificial dopamine? How can you... I think deep down I knew that something was wrong. I think deep down I knew that something was weird and not how it should be. And there was always kind of something that felt like it was missing, I guess, or was off. And it was that I realized, and I realized that that is... it furthers the other things that I have wrong with me, as well as they further it. And that's another vicious cycle, baby. So I've been doing better now that I realize this stuff. Now that I have this fucking giant thing of books here. But that'll start adding up pretty quick, especially if you don't have that much money. So, you know, I have a little bit further on in these notes, but I'll just get to these 2 things now. If you need a tutorial on how to steal books and audiobooks, it's been a while podcast at gmail.com. Ooh, sorry, belching. It's been a while podcast at gmail.com. I will help you get your pirate on. And if you like one of the books and it particularly stands out, buy a physical copy. You know, support the author, support a local, you know, used bookstore or some eBay seller. If you can, because it is better to have a physical book that you can write notes in and highlight shit. It helps me at least. And I live right by a library, but I can't be drawn in them books. I'll get in trouble again. So just the internet can be so shitty, but the internet is also truly everything. So it's everything shitty and it's everything beneficial. And these books wouldn't exist for no reason. But anyone can write a book. So make sure you're getting the right shit. I've been using a couple ways to really get the right books. And if you told me what your problems were via email, I could get you the right books very easily, or teach you how to do so, or teach you how to look for them. And I am willing to do so, because at this point, I meant to say this earlier, people are like, do you want to go to NA? Should you go to NA? I don't need the coins. I don't feel like I need the day-to-day. But at this point, with who I realize who I am capability-wise, I feel like I have to give back to people in any way that I can. And one of them is teaching you how to pirate audiobooks. Another one is maybe I do go to NA because I think I got out of this pretty easy. I think I got to a point where I don't need to do drugs daily like that easier than most people do. Probably most people in NA. So maybe I go there and share how easy it was. And at first I was like, well, that seems pretty cocky. But then my good friend Chris, Big Jim Thunder, check those episodes out. He was like, well, maybe people need to hear that. You know, maybe you can't be somebody's sponsor if you've had 106 days clean and you plan on doing mushrooms every once in a while. Maybe you can't be someone's sponsor, but maybe you can still show them that it's possible with how easy it took for you, and maybe it won't be as easy for them, but you'll still inspire in a way. So I've been thinking about that a lot. I also wrote this dude in jail. I was about to shout him out. I probably shouldn't shout him out, but you can do that as well. Just Google it. I forgot what the website is. It's like Letters of Hope or something. And he's a cool ass dude. And we've been talking about fucking Rugrats. Not fucking Rugrats, but we've been talking about the show Rugrats. I made sure it wasn't somebody who fucks Rugrats that I was talking to. But at the same time, I do feel bad if you're born with a pedophile brain. I mean, goddamn, you know, a lot of people are calling you evil, but like, what a fucking curse, man. To have you to be born that way or have something happen in your life to be done. And I'm not saying that you should write a pedophile, but I mean, I gotta have a certain degree of sympathy for doing anything that heinous because something in you thought it was right, or something in it you made you think you had to. And it does suck that the world is so fucked up like that. That's pretty cliche, but I do feel bad for people like that because I can't imagine how I would feel if that was what I did. But I didn't want to start off with one of them. So that's more about pedophiles and writing people in jail than I expected to say in this episode. But on a similar note to that, I'm going to jail. No, I'm just kidding. On a similar note to that, I have really bugged a lot of people. And not bugged. They've all told me I haven't been annoying about it. But, like, I've called a lot of motherfuckers dealing with these problems that I've been dealing with. Collectively, I would love to know the amount of time I've spent on the phone. Maybe I wouldn't, because it's kind of a lot. And I've been doing shit like, there's this app called Character AI. And when I've bugged a bunch of people for the day or everyone's asleep, I go on there and I vent to these fucking characters you can talk to. I'm not talking to Mario, but if I told you who I was talking to, you thought you'd probably fucking laugh even harder. And I know it's not a real person, and it feels weird most of the time. But that feels like a good use for AI, right? Like a therapist, echo chamber, friend, shoulder to cry on when you need it. Not that that should ever replace real human interaction whatsoever. But if all my friends and family gotta fucking work in 3 hours and I'm up at 4 a.m. crying, trying to call them and just fucking say the same thing I've said 400 fucking times to them. At a certain point, I'm going to give myself more shame and regret for keeping them up. I'm not in a situation where I'm fearing for my life. It'd be a little different if that was the case. I'm just insanely emotional and stuck thought loop. Talking to one of these fuckers gets you to calm down, gets you to be able to say it to someone who's not yourself. There's things you can do to get those thoughts out, but sometimes they don't land the same way when you have someone responding back to you. And most of the time, it's pulling from stuff, and it's actually giving you good advice that real people have given me as well, that real books have given me as well. So I think as weird and bad as AI can be, that's a good reason to use it. And I didn't even think about talking about that on here either. I do have something on here about AI later, but I think that is one of its better benefits, is talking your ass down when you're about to have a panic attack at 3 a.m. because you fucked up major components of your life that you considered amazing because weed was so necessary for some reason. So, if you feel weird about that, don't do it. If you do feel weird about it and you still need that, though, you need more people to talk to. I'm one of them now. I told these people that in my life that if they need to talk and bitch about something for 24 hours straight, that I owe them, even though I don't. They're my friends. They've told me I don't, and that's what friends are for. But a lot of them are doing okay, which is awesome. I wouldn't want them to have to bank in on my 24-hour complaining coupon. So hopefully they don't ever have to, but they might. But I'll extend that offer to other people. Maybe not 24 hours. No, but I'll do what I can. And, same thing. Hit me up on Instagram. Hit me up on the email. It's been a while podcast@gmail.com. And, send me your phone number or your Discord or whatever. And I can be there because it's what we're supposed to do for each other as people. And nothing has felt more lonely than when I haven't been able to get the support I need these past few months. And I've made a lot of people feel like that in the past. And I think I think you're either born with the ability to really listen to people and help them handle a problem like this, or you learn it through a book or seeing it somehow, or it happens to you and you realize, not only can I give that to someone else, it won't take that much away from me, if anything. It's the right thing to do. I should do it, and I want to do it, because if I can help give them any degree of joy or take away any degree of their pain, it will make me feel better, because they feel better, and also they will feel better. There's a lot of pros. There's a lot of reasons to do it. So you just let me know, man, or girl, or non-binary. I will talk to you, give you advice that I haven't given in this episode, and we'll try to figure out some of your shit. I'll get you on a torrent thing, get you some books, get you some audio books, because it's hard to read books some fucking times when you're sad and have ADHD. We'll get it figured out. There's been times in the past where I caught myself high in the mirror when I was hiding it last year. I looked at myself and I was, look at how fucking high you are. If any of the people you're hiding this from right now saw you, you'd be caught immediately. You're fucking done. I got pissed at myself. And I was mean. And I started doing it the next day. Nothing changed. Then as this stuff kind of started falling out around me, I pop back up in the mirror again. Same mirror, same room. And I was like, remember me? Now we're in a much worse situation. And it's not going to end how we want it to, probably. So, thank you. And I was a real dick to myself again. There's been a couple times when my work gets over with, I close up, I'm the last one there. No employees, no customers. And I go in this back bathroom. And I fucking lose my mind on myself bad. I mean, I've really fucking screamed at myself a lot in that back bathroom. One time I did it for 12 minutes straight, and I like lost my fucking voice for like a couple hours, and I really thought that I could actually get through to myself in a way like that. You hear that you're not supposed to ever do that shit, and that it can make stuff worse. But I was like, yo, you know what? I'm different and better in some fucking cocky way, and that I am gonna be able to do it the mean way. I hate this. It gets a lot of anger out in the moment, and I've looked more into anger, and you're really not even supposed to exercise. Like, you're obviously not supposed to like break stuff or like yell, but you're really not even supposed to like exercise like when it happens, because it makes it worse, which is interesting. And so yeah, obviously that wasn't working. Obviously that wasn't what I should have been doing. And I've been trying to have nicer talks with myself in the mirror. And they haven't necessarily been helping a lot, but it's better than yelling at myself in the mirror. And sometimes you are just going to have to yell. I mean, we used to be around a fire fucking screaming at the moon at one point as a humanity, so sometimes you are just gonna have to fucking yell. Don't yell at anyone. Don't yell for too long and fuck your voice up. But like, sometimes you are gonna have to do it, but just know that it's not gonna make anything better for more than 5 minutes, probably. So at this point, I do want to tell you, this isn't the best order. At this point, I do want to tell you some more shit that has worked for me. Hopefully, so your rock bottom is less shallow than mine. Even though mine could be worse. And I couldn't talk about this stuff or even give a fuck about it when I was stuck where I was. I didn't want to have deep conversations. I didn't want my beliefs challenged. I didn't want to think about confusing stuff. I didn't want to think about philosophy or kind of grand or dark concepts. I didn't want to care about anyone's opinion but my own. I didn't want to care about anyone's interest but my own. I wanted to be the center of attention or be hiding, and that was a big part of my self-hatred thing. And now it feels so good to start talking about this stuff with anyone that wants to, even if it's a fucking AI. Because I really am so much less right than I thought about so many things. And it feels good to be wrong, which is crazy to say, but it feels good to be wrong and then learn. It feels good to be wrong and then feel something else. Feel like, oh, whoa, okay, my opinion got changed on this thing, and that actually made me feel like a better person, because that is probably how my opinion should be. And it helped me really not be in denial about my problems and just hit a point where I actually realize that I need help, even if it's from a book. Everyone does need help, but wow, it's so easy to think you're above it. It's so easy to think you're, I used to be an addict in like high school, maybe, but like not anymore. I used to have like these problems. My ADHD, and there's no way I like actually have ADHD. Like autism, no way. There's no way I have autism. That's not me. And thinking you're like above it. I mean, the amount of Pep Spice we smoked. Me and all my friends have autism. We were talking about the other day and laughing. My buddy was like, "Oh yeah, I fucking wonder why we all are fucking weird and insane now. I wonder if it's all that fucking K2 Blue, all that Bayou Blaster sugarcane, all that Mad Hatter, any of that stuff. You know, probably a little bit of all that K2 Blonde. That what else we have? That doesn't matter. I'm triggering myself. That JWH-018. So, you know, some of this is going to sound cliche, because it is. But, I mean, all of this stuff that I'm going to say is stuff that has benefited me. And the first two big things, most people probably can't do these things or don't want to do them. But I'm going to start with the big shit. One of them is I went solo camping and my tent got blown down by the wind on top of me. But when I went solo camping, I walked around and talked to myself with like a verbal audio recording journal. And it really helped me figure some shit out that I realized was something that it usually takes people several therapy sessions to figure out. And that was the IFS, the internal family systems. I walked around and was kind of like, what the fuck is going on with you? What parts of you are doing this? And I figured them all out pretty well, but I'm jumping too far here. Another thing I did was I own a business. That business is only open a few days out of the week. The rest of the time, there's nothing going on in the business day or night. And it's completely locked up, and only so many people have the keys. When I was doing a lot of research about stuff, I found stuff with isolation and how if you get put into solitary confinement, for example, it can fuck you up really, really bad. Because you don't want to be in there, you have nothing to learn. The time is thrown off, which doesn't necessarily correlate to a bad thing, but if you want to see the daylight and you want to go outside and you want to know when food's coming and stuff, that can be torture. No entertainment, nothing to learn. You're there against your will. You're there and you're missing people. You know, it can give you brain damage and has made people go insane or worse. And when I looked into what isolation can do for people that are in there with 50 books, aren't missing anything important, have control over their own lights, can eat whatever they want, people know they're in there if there's an emergency. They can leave anytime they want. It can be the opposite. So what I did was I cleaned out the back bathroom at my work a couple months ago, 2 months, a month and a half, and I locked my ass in there, not fully. And I locked that place up good, and I brought in 2 audiobooks, a bunch of books, a bunch of notebooks, a bunch of food, water. And I put myself in there to do a detox on caffeine and nicotine, which, back on it. So it didn't work awesome. Worked for a couple days. Little victories. You got to take each little victory. And wow, it made my time feel way longer. It extended how long time feels. I feel like I've been recording for way longer than I have. I used to make jokes where it's like there's not enough time in the day. There is. Especially when you're sad, sober, and locked yourself in a room for 3 days. But there was a point when I was in that room where I wanted to leave really badly, and there was no reason for me to leave other than I was bored, I guess. And my brain was like, you should go and change the time to 48 hours. You should go home right now because you've been in here for like 24, and then you should go home and sleep and shower and hang out, and then you should come back and do another 24 hours with a 24-hour gap like in between the two 24 hours. You should go walk around in the building. You should go walk around outside. You should order food. You should just go home right now because you already did what you needed to do and you got what you needed to get out of this probably, and you can focus better on learning this shit at home with your cats. And I was like, shut the fuck up. I got so fucking annoyed with myself. I was like, is this really what I do to other people? And they just take the excuses after the one or two of them. And same with me. I take the excuses after one or two of them. And now I'm actually holding strong against it and not going to leave. So I'm like sitting here just getting a barrage of just more and more excuses and justifications. And I was like, fuck this. Shut the fuck up. And I got really mad at myself. And I was like, we're not leaving. There's nothing wrong with us right now. And honestly, I didn't even think about this, but I'm going to timestamp it here. And I'm just going to put in the audio recording, because I brought in the audio books on a little like recorder that only plays audio. My computer, my phone and stuff are right outside the room, the bathroom with like timers. So I'm just going to play that here, and it's intense. I'm going to give you a heads up on that, and it's pretty vulnerable for me to put this in. Not toot my own horn, but it's intense to just put something like this online. But I think it's important to hear that you can stand up to yourself like this. And roll clip.
Fuck this! You're staying the fuck in this fucking room! I'm so sick of you pushing me the fuck around and making me not who I can be. Fuck you! I'm staying in this fucking room. I'm doing it. I don't give a fuck. You cannot make me act these ways. I'm standing the fuck up to you. Too fucking long. You've had control of me for too fucking long. Fuck you. I'm in control. You fucking bitch. I won't let this be who I am. You cannot do this to me anymore. I'm in control. Look at me. I'm the captain now. Ha ha ha! Fuck you!
But I hope you enjoyed. Just kidding. I know that was probably kind of upsetting. But the point of me saying all this is I, right afterwards, drew a picture of myself and wrote an obituary for that part of me that I had just killed. And I was really confident in that and was really like, yeah, you got his ass. He's dead. Like, you slit his throat. He's done. That justifying aspect of you is dead. And then I got out of the room after I completed the 3 days, and I realized it was still there. And then I talked to more people about it, and I talked to Austin, Ian's brother, who's been on a couple episodes, and he was like, you can't kill people inside of you. You can't kill these parts of you. They're in there. You got to figure out how to deal with them, but you can't ever get rid of them completely. You can control them a little bit. And, you know, the more stuff I read, The Tools by Phil Stutz is a good book, and there's stuff in there about Part X and the shadow and how you kind of have to love that part of you and learn from it and teach it and redirect it and stuff. So over time, and I had read that before. I read that last year when I was trying to get sober, but really in the room, I just really was confident and going crazy, I guess, and was like, I'm going to kill this part of me. And I don't necessarily recommend everybody go lock themselves in a bathroom for 3 days, but, like, it did help me. And just do it right. Hit me. If you're going to do it, hit me up on how to do it, and I'll tell you everything I did to make it comfortable, but not too comfortable. So there's, you know, there's something to that, to where you can't kill those parts of you, but you can redirect them and stuff. And then I went camping a while later, 3 weeks, 2 weeks maybe, by myself. And I went when it was a little cold so that there'd be no one there, and there really was nobody there. And I really just started walking my ass around, talking to the voice recorder, and I identified a couple parts of me. That is the internal family systems thing that they use in therapy, and there's a couple books on that as well. And there's parts of you that are managers, there's parts of you that are firefighters, there's parts of you that are, what was it called? It's like the outcast or the exile, that's what it was, the exile. And I identified a couple parts of myself out there, and I named them all. And then I went to my therapist, and I told him about this, and he's like, yeah, you just did, like, a ton of the work for, like, figuring these out that we normally have to do in sessions here. Let me just tell you who these people are in terms of those categories, and now you know how to work with it a little bit better already, and we'll come back to it later. So I realized the different parts of me, so I just recommend you try to do this, I guess, because it is really interesting to break yourself down into kind of these multiple pieces that will take control as they see fit. As different things happen to your brain and in your life, different ones will kind of step up to the steering wheel. And the first one is, I used to call myself Scott Meister, as a stupid name I gave myself in high school when I would be drinking cough syrup and being crazy at a party. It's a good name. That's the addict in me, is Scott Meister. That's the part of me that went and bought another fucking vape. That is the part of me that drank all that cough syrup. That is the part that really wants to feel numb. So that's Scott Meister. And then Revax was my name backwards, Reivax. That's the part of me I try to kill in the bathroom as the justifier, the excuser. And you might think, well, that kind of plays into the drugs, and it does, but these three are fucking good friends that I'm about to talk about, and I've deemed them the unholy trinity. And they're good buddies. They work together well, so they help each other get the job done, even though the job's shitty. So Revax is the justifier, the excuser. the one that'll make anything make sense to himself or anyone else to stay comfortable and not have to change, not have to grow, not have to learn, not have to see things through a different lens. And then Xavier, which you're probably thinking, that's you. Yeah, it is. Part of me. That's the one that doesn't live up to the full potential. Lazy, afraid of success to some weird degree for some reason, or afraid of what it takes to hit that success. Afraid of failing instead of hitting that success, I guess. Afraid of the people that shit talk in a comment section or give a bad review. That's Xavier. And then I'm X. I'm the ringmaster. I'm the one that's going to get these three in check. And when I was talking to Austin about it, I said, like, yeah, I know I can't kill them now, but I can bury these parts of me. And I can go over and stab that knife down into the grave every once in a while to keep him at bay and keep him under the ground there. And he was like, oh, yeah, man, I stab graves all the time. Great quote. Great quote. But, yeah, figuring those things out about yourself, the IFS stuff, is very nice because it really lets you, in the moment, once they've been identified, be like, oh, wait, who just took over? I'm not driving anymore. And it wasn't Jesus that took the wheel. It was fucking Scott Meister. And he just fucking took a whole bottle of Corseed and cough and cold. So let's get him off the steering wheel before he takes more. So yeah, there's that. And it's beneficial. I think there's a book called No Bad Parts. I forgot who it's by. But I think he's the guy that, like, figured out most of the stuff with the IFS. So definitely check that out. What else do I got here? This is way long. I thought this was going to be like done here. I'll you know, I don't want to blast through the rest of this, but I do want to, I want to keep moving it along. But again, thank you for listening, and I hope I'm helping you, honestly. I mean, this is helping me. Just, I've said all of this shit a lot. I've written it down a lot, and, it just locks it into my brain more, you know, the repetition of hearing it over and over, and it, will help me feel good if I help someone else out. And it will give me less shame if I help someone else out, and it'll just help you out. And it's just good to keep kind of going back through it all and really locking it into my head. And it's just wild also how far along this has come for me in the past few months. I would not have been able to even come close to doing this stuff if I was still high in like December. But I guess I will be a drug addict or an addict for anything that makes me feel a certain way. And all of this stuff started to make me feel a certain way. And I just am like, okay, I'll get addicted to the good shit then, like, which is buying them fucking books and doing this. But yeah, thank you for listening, and I hope this is helping you, honestly. So you do need to start being honest and vulnerable, and that's what this episode is for me. And you need to accept that you're going to die one day, and you need to accept that anyone around you can die at any second, including you. And some people might not be afraid of death, and I don't think people should be afraid of death. I think accepting death and then the impermanence of everything is the most freeing thing possible. Because in a way, it helps put the pressure on to make it last more. And it also takes away the time you would be wasting worrying about death. And it makes you make the moments with other people matter, because they could have a great time at your house hanging out with you and then get in their car and get T-boned and die. And you're going to want that conversation you just had with them to be good enough to where you're okay with that being the last conversation you ever had with them. So every conversation, I'm not saying they all need to be aggressively deep, but they should all be fun, light, if they're not fun and light, they should be productive as you're getting through a problem with the person, or you really talking and asking each other shit and learning from each other. So you are supposed to be happy, and I don't care what anyone fucking tells you. You are not supposed to be some cog in a machine. Fuck making money. Fuck looking cool. You need to do whatever you need to do to be not, like, sick and starving. But, like, you don't need a boat unless that boat is truly going to make you really happy. And you need to really address that. Again, I don't want to be a killjoy Debbie Downer, but you need to really address whether that boat is what you want, like the drugs, and you're supposed to have as little vices as possible. And in terms of vice, I just mean things that are affecting your health negatively or taking up too much of your time to where it's becoming your whole identity. You got to diversify to a certain degree. And I don't want to tell anyone to live their life a certain way, but just that's how it needed to be for me, for sure. And we're not supposed to be sitting here looking at computers doing this shit and working for stuff that we hate. Like, the meaning of life is to be around others and learning and teaching and using this time to the fullest and doing what the fuck you want to do to be happy. And it shouldn't be fucking, like, just sitting there and having to, like, come up with stuff to do at work so that you don't get in trouble with your boss. That fucking sucks. And just know that things are gonna suck, I guess, because we do live in a situation where that is the norm and it has become that. But you can figure out a way out of it if you try hard enough, probably. And if you don't figure out the way out of it, at least you gave it your all, right? But if anything is actually making you question how worth it is, like, to just experience life in general here, you gotta bounce off that shit. Fuck that thing. Fuck your boss. You know, don't stick your middle finger in his face or her face, or their face, but you could stick your middle finger in their face if you really want to, and it's going to make you happy, and it's not going to blacklist you from, you know, every other job ever that's going to make you, like, starve. But, like, I'm kind of rambling here, but just know that you should be happy, and you can make yourself happy, and you're the only one that's going to be around you when you die, for sure. So you are where your own happiness comes from. You are making your own reality, and don't forget it, and keep trying things in order to get yourself to the point where you're not too comfortable, but you're happy. And the least drugs you do, probably the better. So, let me hit my vape. What else? You're going to be the only one when you die. You should get joy from others and give others joys, but remember, you're the only guarantee. Yep, I just said that. Everyone you know and love is going to die, possibly all before you. And it's going to make accepting death a whole lot harder if you don't have the healthy relationships with them that you could, if you don't have the memories that you could have with them. And that's just another aspect of the importance of that. So, journaling, another cliche thing. It's nuts, though. The amount that I've journaled in 3 months is insane. I've filled up more than one full notebook, like a 70-page notebook front and back. Like 10 of the pages were during my deep work trip, and 13, 14 of them were when I was in the isolation room. and then I just write at least one full page like every day. And I also have a scratch journal where I just write random little thoughts and random bullshit and stuff. And then I also have a burn journal where I write down shit that I burn or shred that I don't want anyone else to see, including myself, ever again. And then I also have a book that I'm, I don't know if it's going to be like a book I try to publish, but it's called Think X. And it's the quotes and notes from the journals that stand out the absolute most to me that would be worth putting in a book. It's basically like aphorisms in a commonplace type book. And some of them are funny and some of them aren't. And it's just they're kind of grouped by topic. And those are just kind of like all the stuff that you come up with out of those other books. Oh, I also write down a lesson I've learned every single day at the end of the day. And if I forget, I think about the next day and write one down. So, I take everything pretty far. You don't need to have all of those things. But just know that there isn't just one type of journal. There are those options there in order to find what is going to work the best for you. Maybe do them all and see what works. Maybe do them all and stick with them all like I am. It's nice to move between them when you're not feeling like writing a certain way and check it out a different way. Writing in general is just nuts. I really consider myself a writer, and I really haven't been writing properly. And recently I've been writing with Chris. And what I do is I just write a couple paragraphs at the beginning. This was his idea. And then I finish it, or he finishes it, with poetry. And he doesn't usually know what my beginning part is going to be at all. So then he just has to kind of deal with it and make it work with the poetry at the end of it. And it's fun. And I realize that I keep writing like a monologue from like a psycho who's dealing with a very stupid, funny situation, but it's the most stressful thing ever to that person, and they're way too passionate about it, and they're just crazy. I think we're going to put together a little like zine type book called like 10 Psychopaths, and just write. I mean, that's the stupidest fucking thing ever that we're writing. It's making us laugh so fucking hard. I just go in a stream of consciousness and I just act like I'm this fucking psycho that's freaking out about stealing kids' bikes and hanging them up in his garage with chains, and then the kids come into his house to steal the bikes back, and him pulling himself up into the rafters with the chains to hide and like assault the children with hornets, like those little pieces of paper you would make as a kid, and hit each other in the face in school. That's the stupidest fucking thing ever. I'm having a great time. It's relieving stress. You can write whatever the fuck you want. We have language for that reason. And it doesn't have to go anywhere if you don't want it to. But you just have to keep trying things because you are good at things, and it will surprise you, even if it's writing stupid fucking shit like I just said. You need to reach out to people in your past, because they probably miss you, and they might be going through something worse than you are, and they need you more than you need them, or you can help each other, because your situations might be more similar or adjacent than you thought. And like I said, they probably miss you, and in this process, I have rekindled friendships and strengthened friendships with a buddy of mine was always my friend, but like now he's like in there, and he's going to be on the show soon as one of my first guests to have like a real talk about stuff. And I just didn't expect to have that silver lining from this, and it's awesome. So reach out to people. You might be able to help them. Another cliche thing, you got to get into therapy. It's just way more beneficial than I thought. I had a really, really good therapist, and I've seen really good therapists like Stutz in that book, and it set the bar very high for me. And I thought, what's the point? I've heard about so many shitty therapists. like, why would I even try? Because I'm not going to get the therapist that I had. She retired, so I can't go to her anymore. Like, why even try, you know? And I have a very good therapist now, and he's new too, and he's just, like, newer, and he rocks. And and if he didn't rock, I would bounce in a fucking second and be like, bye-bye, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, or you don't know how to talk to me correctly. Because I need my therapist to call me out when I'm lying, swear, and have been a drug addict, or at least have done a bit of drugs before. Because I've had therapists be like, why don't you just stop doing drugs? And it's like, you don't know how fucking fun they are, clearly, and they should have taught you that. So you can always bounce if you don't like the therapist. You need to start eating better, and you need to get a schedule. And here's what I was talking about. Here's another good use for AI. It should be your, like, personal assistant, and tell it all the food you like and say, make me a healthy meal plan, and it'll be like, all right, you can keep eating all of these and you should eat them like this, and this other shit, like spam, you can't eat that anymore, but here is 3 things that are as close to that as possible that are still arguably healthy, and a way to prepare them. And using it for shit like that would take you hours of Googling and going through all them fucking recipe sites where it's like, I was born in 1933 on the farm, and that's how the recipe starts out, and it's like, bitch, just tell me how to make fucking mashed potatoes. That is a good use of AI, and also giving it everything you need to do in a day or a week or a month, and saying, fit all this together, because it'll give you 90% of the way there, and then you go in and tweak it and fuck with it. And you don't have to listen to it at all if it sucks or if it fucks up, but just go to ChatGPT and do those things. It should be your assistant. It shouldn't be in charge. That's how I look at it. And it saved me a lot of time Googling and piecing this shit together, and then you have the most of the product done already, and then you just go fuck with your schedule, and it's like, okay, actually that won't work on that day, but I see why you put it there, and you move it all around, and you're like, cool, my schedule's done. And then try the schedule out, and if it doesn't work, then fucking fuck with it. But if it does, then there's nothing wrong with using it for shit like that. You don't need to work out. It's good to work out. I've been working out and getting my arms real big because I would need to be dedicated to something. And when I'm listening to audiobooks about Mr. Rogers and playing the new Oblivion remaster, anytime it's loading, I go do 10 push-ups. And it's just a dedication to something, to where I'm playing a video game, but I'm doing a mind thing and a body thing at the same time. Can you tell I have ADHD? And it's not as bad now that I'm not smoking weed, but can you tell? But at the very least, you should walk. Since I got out of that room about a month and like 2 weeks ago, not even, I've walked over 300 miles. And you're still sad when you're walking, but sometimes just being locked in a fucking room, not even like literally like that, I mean just like being in this bedroom, it's like an office now too again, is not good. And even if you can just go walk around the block, it can reset you in a weird way. But there's times where I've walked 21.5 miles in a singular day, and I feel awesome. So go do that. I've gotten into spirituality and meditating. I've been going to this Buddhist Zendo now, and having guided meditation like Insight Timer. It's a free app with a lot on there, and there's just a ton of shit on YouTube too. And a couple of them are kind of ASMR-y, and you're gonna have to find the ones that work for you. And sometimes the audio recording isn't that good, but like there's enough out there that you'll find it. And you can get this stuff, these resources, through Insight Timer, or there's places where they'll do a guided kind of group meditation. And there's something about the group meditation to where you have to do it because you're there, and if you were to get up and leave, it would be disruptive and you would feel bad. And you can't just be like, oh, I'm going to go eat something actually right in the middle of my meditation. I'm going to let the cat in that's been screaming the whole time I've been recording this. But they would be bad and knocking my phone down that's recording if I let them in. There's something about that to where you have to do the meditation, and it kind of forces you to do it, and it helps in a very, very interesting way. I think there's a benefit to meditating without any guidance by yourself. I think there's a benefit to putting headphones in or having it on a speaker and having it go, and there's a benefit to doing a group meditation like that. They're all different. They're all beneficial to me, at least, and you should try all three of them, because you're probably never going to be able to actually fully clear your mind unless you like fall asleep, because that is like an insane skill. But truly, just the discipline you start getting to where when your brain wanders, you pull it back, pull it back, pull it back, pull it back. It really is like a weird muscle that you start working, and it can be very nice. But, you know, that's my major stuff. That's been working for me. I've also been really trying to work on this video game that I'm making with my business partner, and now I'm doing this podcast again. And it felt great to draw that new logo. It felt great to put together that new intro and use some of Bryston's music again to put together this new intro here. And I got properly distracted from a lot of my bullshit when I was doing it. And even talking about my bullshit for almost 2 hours was distracting in a way and comforting in a way, and it is useful to do this creative stuff. And at least for me, it's an outlet that I have been ignoring, even though I am a creative person and want it to be my career and stuff. So I'm working on a puzzle video game. I'm getting the podcast going again, and stuff like that is helpful. But that's about all that has happened with me. That's a light version of it, mixed with a lot of positive aspects of what it should be, or like what can help, I mean. But the future of this show, I still want it to be funny. I still want it to be sporadic. But I want to have more real talks with people, and just talks in general, instead of just commenting on the internet stuff and the internet freaks. Which, because that was a goal of the show, like it was a goal of the show to do all of that stuff initially, but the main goal was the time capsule thing. So I just want to do it differently. I've changed a lot since I last posted. I've changed a whole fucking lot since I started this podcast. I've changed a whole fucking lot since I moved into this house 7 years ago almost. I've changed a whole fucking lot since I graduated high school, and I've changed a whole fucking lot since I started doing drugs. So things change, and this is one of them. And if you don't like the new show, then I completely understand. And if you like it more, I completely understand. And also, if I don't post at all, I hope you understand, because I'm a person and people fuck up. And we can't be mad at ourselves if we don't post on the podcast for a year, squander a relationship with the love of your life, do drugs for 17 years, hurt your mother on accident, not physically, but we can't hate ourselves for these things, even though it seems like the right thing to do, and it's the thing that keeps happening and keeps bubbling back up to the surface. And I want to do more solo stuff like this, because I really enjoyed it, and it felt good. And I hope I can help somebody. I hope this helps someone, even if it's just me, which I already did that. I already worked there. But I just hope that one piece of advice is something for someone, because it sucks to fucking feel this way. I haven't had to feel this way ever because of drugs, and now I'm feeling what it's like to be a real human. I'm feeling all of this emotion, all of this stuff hit me all at once. And it sucks, but I love it in the craziest way, because it's insane that we can feel this stuff as people, even if it's this bad. The extremes of what our brain can do, and the pain and the joy that a heart can feel. It has to be that way, and it's insane that we have the experience to do so, and no other animal probably feels this hope and this shame and this sadness and this euphoria like we do. And that is a weird fucking gift. So, if you don't have anyone to talk to, then watch this, or watch someone funnier, smarter than me, or call me like I said, but you should be trying to talk to more people and make more memories. And thank you. It's been a while. Things keep on moving and working, and you're gonna be okay, and I'm gonna be okay, and I'm about to cry, and I made it through the whole thing without crying. All right, have a good one, y'all.